Hi and welcome along. I'm the Gardener Ben, and today I have the pleasure of bringing you a first impressions video of one of the new releases from David Austin Roses this year in 2023. The stunning rose in front of me is the first release from the Chelsea Flower Show earlier on this year and is called Donahue. Named after Danny Clarke, the Black Gardener, here on Instagram and on YouTube. It's an absolute stunner. And my first impressions and all signs are pointing to this rose being a really good addition to your collection of David Austin roses. This rose arrived with me back in May when it was absolutely packed and full of flowers, and in that unboxing video you saw me produce during my world exclusive, I actually stated then that I've never had a rose delivered from David Austin Roses with quite so many flowers and buds on it all at once. And just look at it, just 6, 7 or 8 weeks later, it is absolutely once again smothered in flowers. Around half a dozen to about 10 blooms already in flower on the plant, and well over 100 buds ready to go. I've got it planted here in a really large terracotta pot, and I mean it really is a large terracotta pot. It's around 60 centimeters tall and around 60 centimeters in diameter. This shrub from David Austin is going to get really quite large. They're stating this is going to reach around 4 feet by 4 feet, making it a really bold and large specimen shrub. So I haven't scrimped on the size of pot at all. And as per David Austin Rose's suggestion, I've got it planted in a very shady spot in the garden. This gets a little bit of direct sunlight just around 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but is in dappled shade for the rest of the day. So getting around 3 or 4 hours of sunlight per day, but here it is looking absolutely glorious. The foliage on this one is really very pleasant, and I know I talk about the combinations of these new additions from David Austin Roses an awful lot, but they're paying a very close attention to the entire package of rose. And over the last 3 or 4 years we've been incredibly spoiled by the quality of roses coming out of the breeding program, and this one, Donahue, is absolutely no obsession whatsoever. Really dark emerald olive green foliage with a beautiful burnt burgundy red edge around the outside. One of the nicest characteristics of this particular rose is actually its growth tips. I photographed them a couple of weeks ago as it started its march towards its second flush. The whole bush absolutely covered in a really lovely bronzed foliage with a yellow apricot edge to it. Really attractive as it marches towards its flowering. The whole bush literally changing colour as those growth tips come forward, and this huge second flush of flowers now being produced. The flowers are a really lovely, I'm going to cut one for you, a really lovely rich apricot colour. Let's find a decent one for you. There we go. Right, let's pop these back in my pocket. A really beautiful rich apricot colour, a loose opened cupped bowl. It's not massively packed heavily with petals, which I really like. A very loose and informal look to the flower, something along the lines of Jude the Obscure or Buttercup, or if you're more familiar with the pink version, Royal Jubilee has slightly fewer petals, but that same very loose open chalice shape to the flower, and a really lovely heart shaped petal around the outside, which gives it a really loose and informal feel to the rose. The buds are a really beautiful rich orange apricot just before they open, opening, as I say, to this lovely rich apricot which fades out given time to a lovely coffee cream as the bloom fades. But never before have I had a rose so young. This plant, being in this pot, was planted about 10 days after I received it in the middle early part of May. Actually no, late part of May. It was then planted in this pot around a week, 10 days later, and it's made a serious size already well over 2.5 feet tall in its pot. It's producing well over 100 buds. It's rebuffed all of the heat this season really well, although I have heard some rumours of a little bit of black spot appearing on this, but the season of 2023 has been incredibly difficult for all roses. A massively hot period of weather, and now a very changeable climate. Lots of cold, lots of wet, lots of wind, but its rose is still flowering really well. And as I said in my unboxing video, one of the huge redeeming features of this particular rose, a massive plus point for Donahue, is its fragrance. As I open that box, that beautiful fragrance wafting out from it. It really, really is very pleasant. A little bit behind on the strength factor of the new other edition, Penelope Lively. This particular rose is going to be rated with a 7-star rose fragrance review from myself, and I look forward to next season being able to bring you my full personal review of this particular rose, giving you its full sizes and characteristics after I've had it in the ground for over a year, because I'll never review a rose from David Austin Roses that I haven't had in the ground fully for over a year. But this rose is really, really good. This is the new one for this season from David Austin Roses, Donahue. It's a lovely shrub. I can't recommend this one enough. Look out for this one rising, not this year, but next year. Very, very high into the top 10 of my top 20 most recommended roses. But for now, these are my first impressions of the new release this season from David Austin Roses, Donahue, which obviously will be available worldwide very soon.